Welcome to the Dead Pixel Society podcast, the photo imaging industry's leading news source. Here's your host, Gary Peugeot. The Dead Pixel Society podcast is brought to you by Media Clip, Advertech Printing, and Independent Photo Imagers.
Hello again and welcome to the Dead Pixel Society podcast. I'm your host, Gary Peugeot, and today we're joined by William Holsten, who is a business mistake prevention specialist, author, and mentor. And William's coming to us from Delaware. Hello, William. How are you today?
Hey, Gary. Happy to see you. Thanks for having me on.
Before we started, we were just chatting, and we went down a few industry rat holes. You're not from the industry, but you have a lot of experience with mistakes. How did your corporate career start before you got into being an author and consulting?
I was interested in college in advertising and communications, got my degree in communications, and was hired at an advertising agency on Long Island. And I was an ad writer, and I did some account work, and that business was closing, and I networked to find the next job. And it was as a writer in the advertising department of Sterling Drug in New York.
Right.
And there I was writing packaging copy and ads for the global business of Bayer Aspirin and Phillips Milk and Magnesia and a whole bunch of things like that. So that's how I got into the corporate world. Lots of things evolved in the 35, 37 years through acquisitions and mergers and lots of things. It led me to become a marketing brand manager on Sterling's major brands, Bayer, Aspirin, and things. And then Bayer, the German company, bought Sterling, and I continued on in brand management and later in innovation. So it's a weaving story. I didn't have to look for jobs, but the jobs came to me because of my skill set. At that time, Gary, I know your audience is really interested in photography. As you all know, Kodak bought Sterling Drug before Bayer did. And actually, Bayer was a later acquirer of the same assets of the business. And we talked before the recording. It's a long, long, long story that's very interesting for another time.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, the whole Eastman Kodak buying Sterling Drug, patent portfolio, and all those kind of things. A whole nother story, which is maybe we'll do an after show sometime or something like that.
Sure.
So let's talk a little bit about, your long career in business. When I talk to people who've been in corporate America for a long time, I always like to say they've seen some things, right? They kind of see things that happen that's repetitive behavior that happens over and over again, mistakes. And why is it then that people repeat mistakes that happen in business so often?
Well, this applies to small businesses.
Oh, absolutely.
Today, my focus is on small businesses, but thinking back in the corporate world, mistakes continue to happen because of many factors. One of them is senior leadership turnover. The next generation of leaders is hired, comes in, and they say, oh, the way it was done in the past was wrong. We'll change this. And the long-term people, I was always one of those, can say, well, been down this road before, but I'll give it my best. And the result is often the same. These have to do with understanding customer preferences, understanding supply chain things, understanding competitive reactions.
Sure.
There are patterns to observe and learn from.
So yeah, we want to talk mostly about small business because that's my audience primarily. But I think what happens is, a lot of the practices in big business, big mistakes can be done by small business, right? Same sort of thing, especially when you run into things like the mindset of, well, we've either always done it this way, so we're not going to make changes. Or on the other thing was, like you said, there's a management change or an ownership change in a business, and they think, well, we need to change the entire process and invent new things. So let's take an example of someone who, let's say there is a management change within a business. What should be the things they should at first look at when maybe they want to improve things but not make wholesale changes?
My first thought on that is to immerse in the customer experience. Many times, especially small businesses, don't have a big market research department.
Right.
And they might make assumptions on what customers think, what their experience is, how they, in the case of photography, how they buy, where they buy, what their experience expectations are.
Sure.
If you're new to a business and you haven't gone and met 10, 20 customers face to face
Right.
and have just a Q&A, how's it going? What do you love? What do you wish for?
Hmm.
You're kind of blinding yourself to the possibilities. This
Right.
is true for somebody starting a business, for somebody taking over a business.
So when you're looking at things like what the customer is telling you, right? Let's say, for example, I'm taking over a photo store and I'm
Mhm.
buying it from existing manager and I want to meet some of the regular users. What are some typical questions I would want to ask when I'm not just looking for positive feedback, right? I'm not because typically speaking, when people do face-to-face research, the people who are being interviewed really want to please the people. So they maybe not be accurate or they lie if well, because
Yeah,
they want to be nice.
questions can include, now, you won't hurt my feelings. I
Right.
want blunt responses. So
Right.
you set that up, but then you can ask what's wrong, and they may not go down that path, but you can ask, what do you wish for?
Okay.
In the last 10 times you came in this store, you experienced this, and this. What would make that experience 10% better if we did what, for you personally?
Right.
And then there's a matter of asking the customer, what kind of business are you in? Why do you come and buy here?
Right.
Uh, can I come to your home or your lab or your shop and see how you use these products? Where are they
Right.
stored? How do
Right.
you open them? How do you discard of use, if it's film, canisters? How do you control the digital assets that you create with what
Mhm.
you buy here? Understanding the entire journey really informs you to think how best to serve that journey. And
Right.
then there's always opportunities to improve and give them something they didn't ask for because you understand the context.
Hmm. Yeah, that is one of the challenges I think when people get into business, where they either are self-involved, they get into it because they like whatever it is, right? They like coffee, so they open up a coffee shop. They like drinking beer, so they
Mhm.
open up a brewery. They like photography, so they open up a photo store. And actually, I have one of my friends in the industry who said to me once, nothing kills your love of photography faster than owning a camera store.
Yeah. Yeah, when you get down to the nitty gritty.
Yeah, because there are different skills other than the passion in the business, right? I mean, certainly that's important, but there's certain skills and things you need to have to make the businesses thrive. When you talk about mistakes people make, you mentioned not knowing the customers. What are some other mistakes that people make in their business, maybe after they've had it for a while, and they tend to just be either complacent or they become just kind of burnt out?
There's a whole list, and these are generic to many small businesses.
Yep,
I've seen
absolutely.
some in my mentoring as a score mentor, but I've compiled a list, and I'll offer to your listeners at the end of this.
Uh-huh.
I call it the $10,000 mistake checklist. It's
Okay.
a list of the top 8 things that continue to happen here and there
Mhm.
across businesses. Number one is the no one actually needs this syndrome.
Mhm.
This is where people get immersed and impassioned about an idea for a product, a service that they love so much, and they want to put it out there. And they get it out there if they don't do appropriate research and find out nobody wants this.
Right.
They're the only ones that love it. And an answer for that is to do some early test and learn. So
Right.
you talk about it, you describe it, and you listen to feedback so you can build and shape it to something people do like. Another common mistake is death by assumption. It's
Okay.
along the same lines that you get out there and you assumed that people would pay the extra 10% for
Right.
a particular item, or they would travel an extra 2 miles to get this where a competitor down the road has it as well. Um, if you make assumptions and don't validate them, you can be going down a path to hurt your business. Another, and this is very common to many businesses that don't have a solid business plan, I call it the vanishing wallet trap. And that's where your cash flow dries up before you're ready to have enough revenue and margins
Right.
to sustain the business. So suddenly you're 3 months into a new business and the answer on that one is, of course, to do a better business plan with cash flow, detailed assumptions. and adjust if things are after a month or two are not
Right,
going well.
because then they may wait too long to
Yeah,
make an
that's right.
adjustment because they don't have a plan. They don't know what, at this point in 3 months, they should be here and they're there
Yeah.
and they don't know how to get from here to there.
What one more? I have a title for it. What's the title? I call it flying without a map.
Right.
But lots and lots of entrepreneurs I've seen in my SCORE mentoring don't have a business plan.
Mhm.
They know what they want to do and they go ahead and do it, and they're trying it they're building as they fly. And my advice is always get a very basic a business plan. And what
Mhm.
is your proposition? How do you differentiate? What is the
Sure.
business model? What do the financials look like? You can do all these exercises on paper with even using the ChatGPT to do some research for you.
Mhm.
And then you can look at it in black and white. Does that make sense?
Right.
And if it doesn't, you can adjust it before you spend a penny.
Mhm. So for the people who may not be aware, what is SCORE mentoring?
Thank you for asking. SCORE is a national organization. It's a business affiliate of the Federal Small Business Administration. It's a network of 10,000 volunteers like me that are available to small businesses to mentor them.
Mhm.
Typically, it's on startup, or if you're at the idea phase and you want to prepare a business plan, or if
Right.
you're a small business and you've got challenges, you can ask a mentor, how might I get out of this?
Mhm. There's a website or something people can go to.
Yes, it's score, SCORE.org.
Mhm.
And if you go onto it, you can learn all about the organization. But what to look for is the place called Find a Mentor.
Okay.
You will put in a little bit about you, and then they will assign you somebody. We, as SCORE mentors, are all free services, and we've got a library of webinars we can send you, resources and
Mhm.
templates. But a lot of us, I'm one, I've got my long-term business experience in a corporation, and I've run my own side gig. We're going to give you our best opinions.
Right. Cool. That sounds well. I don't want to deviate into the SCORE
Yeah,
thing.
that's fine.
I just
But
want people to
it's
know what
probably
it is.
helpful if somebody is saying, gee, I feel all alone here. How might I get somebody to talk to about this?
Mhm.
I'm certain that in our 10,000 volunteers, some have run photography related businesses
Mhm.
and would be more familiar than I am.
So getting back to your items that you were listing before
Mhm.
about ways people can run their business, it seems to me like one of the common factors of those was a lack of information, right? Information that is, they didn't understand the market or they didn't understand something that was happening. But what about the other way, where people have too much information and they can't act on it, almost analysis by paralysis? Do you see that happen?
Yes, and I've been guilty of that myself. Trying to get things done, and I'm not ready to pull the trigger yet because I need to know that much more. And you slow down, and opportunities pass you by because you can't really
Right.
act in a timely fashion to capitalize on a market opportunity. I have found personally ChatGPT and some of the AI things, Google searches help, but you can say in a free ChatGPT conversation, I've got these 15 things and I'm trying to accomplish this. What are the one or two things I should pay attention to first? And it's
Right.
brilliant. Oh, watch out for mistakes because it's
Of course. Yeah.
ChatGPT. It's not perfect, but it can be like a silent partner is going to distill things for you
Mhm.
and suggest which one or two to pay attention to first and why. And
Mhm.
another strength there is you can go back and say, I don't understand what you meant by number two. Help me understand why that's important. And you're not spending a dime and you're getting good pseudo consulting advice. Again, it's up to you to decide is it
Right.
smart or not. Or one of the tools in the book that I'll describe in a bit is ask mentors, experts, or naive observers.
Right.
You can be out there. And when I was in my side gig business, which I'll describe for you as well, I felt all alone. Things were not going well, and I didn't know where to turn. I
Right.
wish I was smart enough to call a SCORE mentor or to reach out to somebody who knew my business that I could say, hey, can I pick your brain for a second?
Right. So what was the side gig? You can't
By
throw
the
that out
way,
there and not say
I
what it
know,
is.
I know. It has nothing to do with photography except we use cameras to take pictures of what we did wrong. While I was still with my big corporation, my family asked me to rent a dunk tank for a Make-A-Wish Foundation carnival in the hot summer of, I think it was 1999. And we rented one and we're preparing to go to help my sister and her daughter make money for the charity. And 2 weeks before, the rental company called me and said, listen, there's a drought. We're not allowed to rent you something that's going to take 500 gallons to fill. So do you want to toss across or some other game? And I said, no, it's going to be hot. I want water. I'll figure this out. My wife and I sat down at our kitchen table and we sketched out, we asked ourselves questions. We said, how do we create something, fabricate something that will deliver the water experience and the surprise without involving 500 gallons? And what we evolved became a game now called Pitch Burst. It was a 8x10 fiber wood board with a bar across, and on the end was a basketball basket with a water balloon in it. So somebody would throw the ball, hit the target, and a pivot would go and pop the balloon over the head of somebody so water fell down on them instead of them falling into it. We did it for this 95-degree, very humid day in August of 1999, and it was a fantastic hit. They made $500. And we went home and said, boy, that is smart, that is fun. I could make that a business. And then people called and said, where can I get that? So we went down the path of getting a patent, and with the patent in hand, going to a bank, getting an SBA loan of almost $100,000 that would finance marketing to the rental company business.
Right.
And the fabrication of our first 100 units. We adjusted the design of it just a little bit because ours was so successful, and they were made of wood with cheap parts.
Right.
And it went into the rental market in the next winter, and we sold about 60 of them. But when the weather got warmer and people began to rent them out to their rental customers, the first calls were, wait, they loved it. Then the next calls were, oh, the screws came off, the wooden parts broke, the adhesive logo panel is peeling off, it looks like crap, I want my money back, or I want you to fix this. Okay. So we sold 60 of these wooden units in about 3 weeks of the warm weather season. We used the word or there's worse words to say.
Yeah.
We realized we were in trouble because this is not sustainable. We knew the experience was wonderful, but the material choices we made were bad. We made all the extra parts and did all the things and made refunds where necessary. We had spent all the money from our loan. We stopped selling. We took back and decomposed the last 40 units. And then we spent 2 years with more borrowing to have an engineer redesign it for us out of steel. And that's the fabrication learning we had. That product, Pitch Burst, is still on sale today. We sold the patents a while ago, but it's the one that became the bulletproof crowd delighter. So our lessons from that are, we did a test market at that carnival, so we knew the proposition was popular, but we didn't do the materials testing. We did visit a couple of rental stores to see, what do you got and how would you use this? And we only listened to what we wanted to hear. Oh, we like that, we would buy it. And I asked them, what happens if it breaks? They said, if something breaks in a rental store, we fix it. I said, good. And I never thought about it again. That wasn't true for the other 999% of buyers. When they paid me $1,000, they want it to work, and they get mad when it doesn't.
I don't blame them.
No. So that business, we had that game and several others over 10, 12 years when we owned it and ran it. We learned to understand the customers. Mm-hmm. We learned to talk, the customers were the middleman, the rental companies. So we needed to understand their environment, how they handle and treat these things, and what it takes to succeed there. We had the pricing down, we had everything else. Just for us, it was material fit for purpose. Didn't make it. That was my side gig while I was running brands full time.
Well, it sounds like that was actually quite useful. Were you able to translate any of your experience from the corporate gig over to the side gig, or vice versa? Were you able to bring anything from the side hustle into your corporate gig?
Yes is the answer all 3 times. I gave some thought. The book later is a translation of much of that. From the corporate world to the side gig, of course, I had my MBA in marketing, so I was able to brand things well, tell the story well, get things priced correctly. I even know the basics of the market research we should have done but didn't.
Right.
From the side gig side, yes. A lot of times in a corporate world, there are rules and regulations. They want you to be creative, but you're constrained a lot by the corporate processes and approval levels. I've said that if I used the engineering skills and quality control skills I used in my game business, my drug company, people would have died. It would have been terrible. By the way, that never happened. There are lots of people to protect us from making mistakes. But I also said, if I had the corporate structure and approval processes and things in place in my small company, my side gig, we would have never got the first product off the ground because of all the red tape and things. So it's a both and. It was an enriching experience, sometimes uncomfortable to be involved in.
Right.
But I learned a ton of things. That actually directly led to me writing this book. I worked for the company for the next, after that, 20 years or so, and I retired 2-3 years ago. I finally got to sit down and think, what were the lessons learned and how might this help other people? And it led to the creation of the book, and I'll name it now. It's called How to Avoid Unintentional Blunders That Derail Entrepreneurial Success and Goof-Proof Your Business.
Okay.
And it's designed for small businesses and startups and entrepreneurs who are going down the road I did. It includes, of course, the story about the dunk tank and all the kinds of things I went through. But the important part are the 10 tools in the second half of the book, the how not to things. I applied in my day job for the final 10, 12 years of my corporate life. I was leading creative workshops for problem solvings and new product idea generation for consumer healthcare products. And we used tools that included design thinking, included pre-mortems, a whole lot of other tools and creative problem solving skill sets. I've translated those into the 10 tools in that book that people, if they pick it up or they look at me online, they can see these are things that can help me avoid problems. Once the book was done, that's when I became the business mistake prevention specialist, because I didn't stop my research there. I've been digging and digging to understand it's an art and a science, what's behind slips and mistakes and things you forget. And I boiled it down in the book to, it's really simple. How you avoid mistakes is to think smartly and be more aware. It's as simple as that, but that's not simple at all. When you're running your business, it's like you're draining the swamp with a million alligators around. You're worried about your competitors, your customers, your cash flow, all these things, and you're not thinking, how do I avoid a mistake? Because that's part of the day-to-day. Now, making mistakes is an excellent way to learn. And sometimes you're paying your dues when you're new to a business. You're going to learn from them anyway. My teaching is about, some of that is necessary, and you're going to not know how to avoid everything, but some of the bigger ones, not having a business plan, not really understanding experience, many of those things, they are preventable if you just use your head.
So what are some of the signs someone would have that something is a serious mistake versus just a temporary hiccup? Because what I see happen a lot is people tend to overlook a major problem until it's too late.
It's true that you may not know something is a major threat until it's too late. It's because things cascade and compound. You don't know that because you forgot to lock your door when you were closing up on a Saturday night, that there could be a risk of threat, fire, somebody getting into it that you don't want there. Or the cash flow discussion before.
And that's a very typical thing, right?
You don't know that oh crap, I'm out of money. We have to close. I don't know what to do. Part of it, one of my tools that it's one of my favorites. I call it uh-oh-ology. It's learning from other people's mistakes. It was Warren Buffett. He's quoted often as saying, it's great to learn from mistakes. It's better to learn from other people's mistakes. The book has several examples of other people's mistakes and learning from them. The most dramatic one was a skydiver in Pennsylvania years ago who was asked to film another couple, a student and an instructor, as they were jumping and opening their parachutes. So this guy, Ivan McGuire, this is the years before GoPro and even digital cameras. He got a film camera. He strapped it to himself. And they were all up at 10,000 feet. They got the okay from the pilots, ready to go. Thumbs up. He jumps out, turns on the camera, points it up, gives them a thumbs up. They jump, they pull their rip cords, parachutes open. It was a beautiful, beautiful shot. Then Ivan went for his own ripcord and only at that moment realized that he had forgotten his parachute. The camera was about the same weight as the parachute, and he got so mixed up with getting it technically ready that he forgot it. He was an experienced guy. How this happened, who knows? He did fall to his death. It's tragic.
Oh my
But
God.
the example I use in my uh-ohology discussion is, yes, none of us, or very few of us, are skydivers. I am not. But what one thing in your business situation, if you ever forgot it or neglected it, could be fatal or really damaging to your business? The not locking or not renewing insurance, and then something happens. In the photo business, you can all think of what would be really terrible if
just not placing
neglected
an
it
order,
once.
not maintaining your equipment. Yeah.
So I've begun writing monthly. My book has a bunch of examples, but each month I publish uh-ohology, the newsletter. It highlights a new example and some lessons you can learn from it.
Awesome. Well, where can people go for more information about the book and the newsletter and all things William Holsten?
Well, but it's my name. My name is William. It's my website, myname.com. William Holsten, HOLSTEN.com. And there you can find information about my teaching, the book. You can go to the resources section and find the uh-ohology monthly newsletter. You can sign up for it. And you can also, when you get to the landing page, look for this $10,000 mistake checklist. It describes all 8 of the most often entrepreneur blunders, and it includes what is a mistake, why does it hurt, and how do you goof-proof it? What tools can help you avoid those things? We've talked about 4 of them. There's 4 more, and there's more coming, by the way. WilliamHolsten.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, William, for your time and expertise. Really enjoyed the conversation, learned a few things, and it was just kind of fun to hear how you were able to turn a kind of side gig into a patented product. I mean, that's a whole nother story. So thank you so much for sharing that.
Thank you, guys. I appreciated the invitation to be here.
Thank you for listening to the Dead Pixel Society podcast. Read more great stories and sign up for the newsletter at www.thedeadpixelssociety.com.